oldest too, right?
I'm the oldest, I can do nothing wrong.
Mine's up there too. They're having a nice conversation.
My dad, I don't know about it, he may be down below.
Mine's still here on the planet.
Alright, there you go. There it is. Okay. So if this is your first time, if you're new, you may not know, but this is what we do. When we hear the rock music, everybody stands up. We're going to stand on your feet. If you ever saw the movie Rocky, you know what he does when he climbs to the top of the museum, right? I'm a champion. It's kind of fitting with the music doing that. They believe you're young. They believe you're youthful and energetic. Come on now. All right, give yourself a round of applause. Dudley, you don't need to jump. I can see you standing tall back there. Looking good, young man. Looking good. Come on in. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome. So I have the night off. As many of you know, my son Dr. Josh will be delivering our master class tonight. So I know there are some things going around. Somebody just mentioned to me that they're still fighting something off. One of you guys in here just, was dealing with pneumonia a little while ago. So this is the season, right? The holiday season. That's where we see the uptick in all this stuff that we want to think gets passed around, like the germs are the cause of our sickness. They are opportunistic only if we give them the opportunity, right? And what gives them the opportunity? When we get stressed out, when we eat lots of sugar, when we don't take good care of our health during the holidays like we normally do. We're giving opportunity for all this to happen, right? So, if you feel like your immune system is weak and you're fighting something, or you want to prevent that from happening, you're in the right place tonight. Dr. Josh is going to talk about that. If you have a heart condition, or hypertension, or a blood sugar issue, or diabetes, or sleeping problems, or you just feel like you're hanging on to life by a thread, you're in the right place. Dr. Josh is going to give you the keys to the kingdom. He's going to share with you the gems tonight that are going to help you with that. And for those of you who I asked when you were getting adjusted, what is the number one factor that'll ruin your health more than anything during the holiday season? Don't say it, David. He's the only one that got the answer right. It's sugar is a factor, but it's not the number one. Exercise is a factor, not the number one. Stress is a factor, not the number one. Dr. Josh is going to reveal to you tonight the number one factor that will ruin your health during the holidays more than anything else. And if you get this, you will sail through scot-free and have the best holiday season you've ever had. Does that sound like a good deal? It's good. Turn to your neighbor and say, yes. Yes. All right. You are awake and ready to go. So with that, I want to introduce somebody to you that I am so very proud of, and somebody who's worked really, really hard to get to the point where he's at right now. And he is a fantastic student of life, and he is an even better student of chiropractic and health. And we are honored, and it is a privilege to have him teaching us tonight about holiday health and stress survival. Everybody put your hands together for Dr. Josh Yachter!
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. It's a busy time, so I know you took a lot of time to spend it here with us and learn about something very important, and that's maintaining our health during a time of year when we are enjoying our health. And it's funny that the time when we all celebrate health is when we tax it the most. But if we are treating ourselves well and we stay healthy throughout the year, then we're prepared. Because when we have a goal of having a healthiest year ever, that starts with our decisions that we make and based off of the information that we know. So I spent time to put together a presentation for you guys tonight that gives a lot of information on the background of stress. And we'll start with the first person who ever talked about stress in the human body, and then discuss how chiropractic is involved with that, and all of the main ideas of diet, exercise, and keeping a good mentality and good mental balance to prevent all of these stressors building up over the holidays. Our next event I do want to point out is Fat Loss First in January. So after we've enjoyed our health for about a month, we can work to put back into ourselves at the beginning of the year. But to start it off, the theme for all of the workshops is to focus on the function, fitness, nutrition, and education. So we'll start with the education part tonight. When it comes to the end of the year, and we have all of the opportunities to enjoy the holidays, this is when we're giving our body the real test of how well we held up throughout the year. And depending on how well we hold up determines whether we get sick or not, because some people do hold up well during the holidays, and we would want to be like those people. So we want to know, what are their secrets? How do they stay healthy even when everybody's getting sick around flu season and into the holidays? And the answer to that question is asking whether the sickness is causing the disease, or whether it's the health that we have in the first place that isn't battling the sickness well. So I want to focus on both diseases and health, and it starts with this question. The types of stress that we come across throughout the day are categorized as mental, chemical, and physical. And when we have our chemical stresses, that would look like our diet and the things that we're exposed to throughout the day, and those do build up over time. So it's important to make sure that we can get rid of them as much as possible, and one of the best ways is to sweat them out. So we'll be talking about exercise tonight, but even more importantly is our mental stress, because when we go to sleep at night, our brain is able to clean itself and clear all the toxins and really cement what we did throughout the day into our memory, and it's the time where our brain needs to rest the most. So getting good sleep is most important. Second to that is our anxiety and our levels of mental stress. So I know Dr. David Yachter will call out really specific questions. Most people might not know these medical questions, but does anyone know what the stress hormone is called in the body? Cortisol. A lot of you guys know that one. That's perfect. Awesome. So we'll be talking about that tonight as well. So the anxiety and the mental stress that we have can create cortisol in our body, and we don't want that in the body. So that's a direct link. The amount of stress that we have determines the amount of stress hormones in our body. And then lastly, we have physical stress, and this is why we love talking about this. It's our most popular workshop, the Holiday Health one, but in a chiropractic office, we get to talk about how we can experience stress passively. Now, there's the active stress of lifting and moving and doing the work we need to, but then the things that go on throughout the day, being pulled down by gravity, having to get up off the floor, or the smaller things, those are also stressors that we can be prepared to move against. So if we're not paying attention to our posture throughout the day, then that puts a passive stress on our body, leading to subluxation. And I'll spend time on that later tonight, but I know a lot of you are familiar with that term already. So when we come in contact with disease, and we'll come back to that original question, do people get sick because of the bacteria or because of how healthy that person is? The question is, or the answer to that question is, how much stress are we able to handle when we come in contact with those diseases? Bacterias, viruses, influenza, and over time to maintain our health to not develop diseases later on. So this all leads to weakened resistance, and when we have that weakened resistance, then we start to see the buildup in the body of symptoms and things that we need to clear out just by eating well and doing exercise. And it is difficult to clear out the trash can when we're not doing that. Or, excuse me, it's difficult for our bodies to clear out the toxins when we are not properly exercising and eating well. And the trash can doesn't have the ability to clear itself on its own, but let's say the flies are the symptoms and the trash is the problem. We can run into issues if we try to treat the symptoms without taking care of the problem in the first place. So our body, thankfully, has the ability to do that. It does that for the brain, it circulates fluid so that it can clear itself out. If we're not hydrated enough, then that can restrict that. And even more directly is the subluxation we were talking about, how that can pinch the spine at certain levels and cause especially at the very top with that first bone in the spine, and I know a lot of you guys know. Could somebody say the name, please? The atlas, perfect. So you guys know that if we have any misalignment at the top of the spine there, then that causes a lot of problems with the communication from brain to body, from the maintenance of our balance, of our well-being, all of the background functions take place at that level. And by the time our body needs to be prepared for a sickness or a disease or any bacteria or viruses we come in contact with, then we should not look to take away the symptoms then either, because the symptoms are not the problem. It's normal for us to go through sickness throughout the year, and it's especially good if we're able to let the fever run its course. So this comes from the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. They say that sniffles, sneezes, and the fever are good for you, and they clear the airways of harmful irritants. Fevers actually fight viruses and bacteria, and at a fever of 104, diseases are shortened by letting the fever run its course. So if we keep suppressing diseases, then over time the body will keep fighting the same disease because we never needed the chance to fight and learn on its own. Now, we talked at the beginning how we're usually prepared to fight off these diseases. And depending on how well we took care of ourselves throughout the year, we'll be prepared to enjoy ourselves this coming month. So all of this holiday stress, if we focus on what the stress causes, we'll see things like weakened immunity, we'll see things like fatigue, weight gain, and even depression, which we'll spend some time on tonight as well, because the mental health is the most important factor for staying healthy. And really, these things don't just come up towards the holidays when we get busier. These are really everyday stressors that cause these things. Weakened immunity, fatigue, weight gain throughout the year is a result of the buildup of stress throughout the year. Now, I said that we would talk about the first person to use the word stress when relating to a person, because before 1950s, I saw it, the word stress was used for engineering and for construction, like the amount of stress that a bridge can take before it breaks. And there was a man named Hans Selye who he went to school in the 30s and got a doctorate in medicine and biochemistry. And this is his most popular book was Stress Without Distress. And his message and his discovery really is that the brain is the source of our well-being. And once we have control of our brain and the well-being, then we can have the strength to do the things we like to do and the things we need to do. And he was specifically an endocrinologist. He looked at the hormones that people would produce. And so the cortisol stress hormone was the one that caught his attention. I want to play this video because this is an explanation of his theory of stress. The first person to explain stress to any person relating to the human body.
Since 1945, Hans Selye has worked here at the University of Montreal as Director of Experimental Medicine and Surgery. The university is now a world center for the study of stress.
The whole concept arose from the observation that in addition to specific diseases, such as a gastric ulcer or typhoid or tuberculosis, there is a syndrome, a set of manifestations, a set of disease signs, which is common to all diseases. For example, if you lose your appetite, you feel thin, you have no energy, you want to lie down rather than get up. And when I was a medical student, I became very interested in this. It didn't seem to me an obvious thing that should exist, that there should exist such a thing as what I called at the time the syndrome of just being sick from anything. And when I published my first paper on it, some 10 years after I first confronted that problem as a medical student, I published it in the British journal Nature under the title A Syndrome Produced by Various Noxious Agents.
But what are the diseases of stress?
Well, you know, actually, stress plays a certain role in any disease. Because any disease causes an increased demand. You always have to come back to this definition in order to understand. But there are some diseases in which stress is a decisive factor. And there are a whole lot of diseases that have no apparent cause. And people have been looking for the cause of it for a long time, but there is no cause. Because the cause is just any effort. Anything that causes stress.
What is your personal attitude towards stress, towards the stress that's put on you?
Stress is the salt of life. You have to be under stress in order to make life worthwhile. If a person has very much to express and feels that he's very creative, making it impossible for him to exteriorize himself is the most terrible stress that you can put on. So my philosophy is based on the concept not of being lazy and sitting around and doing nothing and trying to get the shortest working hours, but to work on the stress level for which I was born. There are some people are more phlegmatic and others have more a need to express themselves. I have a fairly intense need for work. I need it. I couldn't exist without it. But I don't fight for things which I don't win. At least I must be convinced I can win, otherwise I don't fight.
Do you just give up?
I just give up. I admit defeat and do something else.
It's a great video, but it's good to know that we don't have to push ourselves. We don't have to think that we can be perfect and shoot for the stars, but what we can handle and our God-given abilities is what we were made to handle. And that concept, like how he's pointing to the chalkboard, giving an explanation of how the human body processes stress, was such a great discovery, but he also added to it a definition for what is good stress and what is bad stress. So he calls that eustress and distress, eu meaning good, and after that talks about how specifically this affects people. And I want to talk about what he's pointing to on the chart there, because I know a lot of you guys have seen the ANS charts, or the charts with the spinal cord and all of the nerves coming out to the organs. And he was really simplifying it down to the part of the spinal cord and the nervous system, the part of that processes stress. So because of all of these discoveries, he is saying that stress management should be foundational in any healthcare system. Because people, goodness, the reason we have the nation we have today is because we need to go through these stressors. So to be able to be aware of your stress is the most healthy thing that we can do. Now, to give a very basic explanation for us to know why we should spend time on being less stressful when we can, or managing that stress. Excuse me, I'm just going to move through these slides here. There we are. And his explanation of how stress is produced in the body won him, he was nominated for Nobel Peace Prizes. And I know we just had the Nobel Awards this past week, but in 1950, he was given this award. He was given the nomination, but he did not win because at the same year, these other group of gentlemen won the award for being able to synthesize cortisol. So that's what they're holding in the flask there. And 2 options were given to win that Nobel Prize that year. And the gentleman on the left who had the flask had won because they spent about 8 years getting all the cortisol they could from cows to create a synthetic version and then to give it to people. So the first patient they had arthritis, and she felt better, but it only took care of the symptom. So they rightfully made a great discovery, but our history points to diseases as being the great discovery of any time, when we can find a way to cure a disease. But Hans Selye was from Canada. I know there are many reasons why Canadians seem friendlier than Americans, but being aware of stress to the level that he is, I know Canadians are aware of his research much more. That's something that we see today still, that we focus a lot on diseases and not on maintaining our own health. And I think understanding stories like these show us better how to approach our own mindset about health, to constantly look at ourselves and how well we're dealing with daily life, and to trust that our body will be better because of it. Now, moving on here, this is basically that concept. Healthy person adding in stresses equals dis-ease. And on the right side, the diseases that they focus on plus symptom relief equals somewhat of a healthy person. But just like at the beginning of the slide, this concept is us spraying Raid on the symptoms, but the problem for the arthritis is still there. Now, for the next slide here, the part that Hans Selye spent the most on of all of the stressors were the mental stress. Now, the mental stress we see is important, but if we've let that go for so long that we know there's an issue with mental health in America today, that there's a point where we ask, do we need medications to help with that mental health? Or is there something within us that we can improve that can help us fight back at, or to go through our daily lives stronger? And there has to be something, and what we're doing, excuse me again. I'm going to move on to, these are the statistics that we have today. For antidepressant statistics, nearly 1 in 4 women ages 40 to 59 are taking antidepressants. 12% of Americans ages 12 and older are on antidepressants. And all of these are a 400% increase over the last 20 years as we focus on disease rather than what's wrong with the person themselves. And that's where we're taught to look for the cure, as if we're missing something. But what we see in research is, this comes from the American Journal of Preventive Medicine, in a study which involved 80 adults aged 20 to 45 years diagnosed with mild to moderate depression. Researchers found that exercise alone cut their depressive symptoms in half. Now, this is something that we can all apply, whether we have depression or not. It always helps, and the body's able to process our mental stress better when we're outside and our heart is pumping and we're where we should be in nature, moving. Now, chiropractors were aware of this, both about the stressors Hans Selye was talking about the exercise, and there was a clinic in the 1920s to 1960s that was a chiropractic clinic for depressive and the other word was invalid patients. Now, these patients were sent to Iowa, in Davenport, to the Clearview Sanitarium, a chiropractic psychiatric facility. And in this facility, the rooms that the patients were given were sunny and bright, and the meals were large servings of fresh vegetables. And every day, each patient was scanned, just like we do here in the office, a more rudimentary version of it. They would assess to see if there's any subluxations in those patients, and then correct those subluxations so that the brain can communicate to the body properly. And after years of this going on, it caught the eye of a judge in North Dakota who said that the cure and discharge rate of other institutions, state hospitals even, were 18 to 27% discharge rate compared to the chiropractic sanitarium in Forest Park at 65% discharge rate. So there's something to say for chiropractic having an effect on depression, as well as mental stress in general, as well as the good foods and the exercise that we get. And this was a piece that they put at the end for describing how they took care of their patients. It says, for 20 years, Forest Park specialized in care and treatment of mental and nervous cases. Our staff consists of 3 chiropractors, 1 medical doctor, 1 dentist, 36 well-trained nurses, and we invite the public to visit our institution, and so on. But I just haven't seen one like this since, and it would be incredible if we had those again. But that same concept is what we're doing here in the office. Now I need to move through these slides again. Excuse me. Good. And I'm going to take a moment to call Dr. Yapter back up.
Oh,
Now that was a little early.
Okay.
I'm going to skip some slides.
so we have a raffle.
Yes. But we have a raffle.
We have a raffle. Do we have a raffle? Do we have prizes? Do we have raffle tickets? Does everybody have a raffle ticket? Go ahead and wave your raffle ticket in there. Wave it like you just don't care. Give it to your neighbor if you don't care. All right. All right, so the first raffle is a Target gift card for $25. And, okay. I'm gonna pick this one and then I'll let Dr. Josh do the next one. All right, so here we go. Are you ready? It is 216140. 216140. Come on, somebody's gotta have that, right? Huh? Somebody left? I don't know. 216140. Okay, let's try another one. All right. Here we go. Ready? 216145. 216145. All right, Rosita. Yay! Very nice. Winner, winner. Chicken dinner. Okay, next one is going to be for a restaurant card. This is a $50 gift card for any restaurant, for Olive Garden, Longhorns, Cheddar's, Yard House, Bahama Breeze. The other one is too small for me to read without my glasses. So, all right. Okay, so let's see what we got here. 216133. 216133. All right, Cecile. Woohoo! Very cool, very cool. Dr. Josh, you want to pick one? All right, so the next one. What's the next one for? All right. Complete Clean. Ladies and gentlemen, Complete Clean. This is a top tier prize. Just so you know, the Breakfast of Champions. That's an $84 value. Working our way up. Okay, what do you got, Dr. Josh?
The number is 216140. 140.
Oh, did you pick that from up here?
No, I did not.
No.
Oh, there were two in there.
Here. We're experiencing technical difficulties.
Technically got our own raffle. 216132.
Woohoo! He wins every year. Every year. Good thing we didn't have a big screen TV here. So you'd be going home with it. All right. And the last one is for a Publix gift card for $100. All right, I'm going to let Tamara pick that one.
All right, 216127.
All right, congratulations. That's a real chicken dinner. All right. You're on.
Denise can leave now, right?
So we're doing all right on time. Now, after discussing and thank you guys for your attention and your patience. You guys are very kind. I want to move on from the mental stress to how exactly chiropractic helps with our ability to deal with mental stress. So the first and really the main word we focus on here is subluxation. Subluxation is the process where we'll have a bone out of place in the spine, and at the very center of that spine is our spinal cord. So because our nervous system is inside our spine, if we have any misalignment, the nervous system will be affected mechanically, physically, being pinched at that site, and then we see problems arise later on, whether it's at the very top, at the very bottom. We'll see problems with those areas in the body. So when we're discussing mental stress, at the very top of the spine is where we see the side effects of misaligned vertebrae in the spine. Those things look such as headaches, nervousness, insomnia, head colds, high blood pressure, migraine headaches, and chronic tiredness. And they all sound like those symptoms of dis-ease, of the stress buildup that Hans Selye was discussing. That there's so many diseases that are out there that don't really have a specific reason, but they exist. So what he put together was that we have stress, and usually people that have the most stress have a lot of that fatigue and the tiredness, and all of these symptoms, even headaches and high blood pressure as well. And our ability to manage our stress, and even to be able to perceive it as good stress, to be able to handle that is what allows us to avoid all of those common problems that we see in the body. So this paper was one that was shared with me when I was in school, and it's the first paper that was ever done on how chiropractic improves mental health. And not only was it the first, but it was the biggest paper as well, because this is something called a systematic review, And it's the largest kind of research that can be done on any level in any field. So this is what chiropractors are using to argue why we help with mental health. And we can go through this paper in a quick summary if we look at the outline. The background for the paper is asking the question, or is stating that the most important risk factor for neck or back pain or neck or back issues are the psychological and the social impacts, because it does take a toll on us both at home and when we're out and about. And the objective of the paper was to see if chiropractic care is effective in improving the psychological and social well-being of patients. And what they found in the paper was, for patients that were under chiropractic care for 5 months, saw 34% improvement, and 1 year of chiropractic care saw 27% improvement. That is very simplified, but the improvement is in comparison with verbal intervention. If you were to compare therapy, verbal therapy, to chiropractic care turns out to be 34% more effective in the first 5 months of care, because we're literally changing the physiology of their nervous system to be able to respond to more stimuli, be able to process more that they encounter in their day. And after even a year of chiropractic care, that isn't fizzling out. It's still at 20% improvement compared to going to any verbal intervention. Now, the conclusion they make with this paper is chiropractic improves psychological outcomes better than verbal interventions. And I can't find this paper anywhere in any magazine or, goodness, usually papers are brought to light and shared with the public when they're really important. And I haven't seen this advertised or sponsored anywhere. So this is a huge paper, and I thought it gives great hope for the people who do stay with their chiropractic care, that this is hard proof that it really does help our mental ability and vitality. And it is all because of that nervous system. So when our nervous system is working properly, then we have full communication, and at that point we can take whatever stresses, physical, chemical, or mental, throughout the day, and that's the beauty. So I'll leave that there. So when it comes time for the holidays and the sickness starts to spread throughout those that we know, the best option is to get our flu adjustment. And even, I know we've been talking about mental stress this time, really this whole talk, but these were HIV patients in a research paper from 1990, and HIV patients already have weakened immune systems. So these patients who went to chiropractic, who went for chiropractic care, saw a 48% increase in their immune system white blood cells. So we're not just being improved mentally, we're being improved physically in our body's chemical fight to stay well. Now this is, I know we've shown this video once or twice before. This is a patient from a few years ago, we recorded this, who saw a huge improvement in his immune system health after starting chiropractic care.
Carter Markland, so you're giving me an amazing praise report. How long have you been a patient here now?
Since July of 2008.
And what did you originally come in for?
I came in because I was having problems with my blood pressure.
And what were the results after care?
After care, blood pressure has normalized.
Excellent. Were you on medication?
Yes, I was.
And are you on medication now?
No, I'm not.
Excellent, excellent. And what other benefits have you noticed since you've been under care?
I have not been sick legitimately since 2008, since I've started care in this office. Also, I have a few sniffles that are go quickly. I have not been sick.
And before, is it something that was very common? Were you getting colds and sickness? As a teacher, you're around that a lot, especially with kids.
Yes, and then in the winter months, it gets cooler, I would get sniffles. And I've not had that. As a matter of fact, I was in New York in the snow, and I definitely was warm. I came back, no problem whatsoever.
That's great. That's a sign of a healthy immune system and a healthy future.
Yes.
Keep up the good work, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Ricardo is not here tonight. Okay, I was just looking. Now, what Ricardo was discussing was he would experience these symptoms over time that seem like they don't really have any cause. Everybody really gets sick. It's something that you just fight off. Maybe taking a leave, an ibuprofen, and that isn't the case. It's something I forgot to mention were those group of men that had won the Nobel Prize for synthesizing cortisol. After we understood the stress hormone, then people tried to make more medications similar to that. And because of that discovery of the stress hormone, we now have ibuprofen, Aleve, all of the anti-inflammatories. They stemmed from that 1950 discovery. So if anybody wants to look up the history, that was where it started. And if we don't look outside for the cure, and we look inside, then we should be constantly aware of when we have those bouts of sniffles, or when our heart is racing for some reason, or why our blood pressure is up, because there is always a reason, even if it's our mental stress, that does affect all of these. So when these symptoms arise, do they develop because of a lack of drugs in the body? Doesn't make sense. Nor are the symptoms the cause of the problem. It's the nervous system and the immune system in play between each other. So the immune system signals the, nervous system signals the immune system, like the picture of Hans Selye pointing to the chart. It goes from brain to the kidneys and then to the immune system. And the kidneys are what create that stress hormone. So when we have those symptoms, we have to remember that the nervous system, the immune system are what we are to keep strong, not to weaken the symptom. We want to strengthen what we have. And specifically with chiropractic, this is what we do here. It's not even just preventative, it's strengthening. And we're not really thinking of what diseases are we preventing, because when we find the area that needs to be improved, then it works properly. And we're not concerned with problems arising. Of course, we'll do other tests. We have the dietary test, metabolic weight loss, different ways to assess the body from the physical, mental, chemical stresses. But all of this is strengthening. And you guys being here tonight as well is strengthening. And so when we are able to do that, then, and we have on here the right side of the picture, we have a open and clear nervous system channel where our spinal cord runs through, then we are healthy and prepared for the holidays. Now, after this, I want to give some ways to apply this tonight and to start preparing for the new year. The first step is a reminder that our weight dictates how well our body can handle stress. The mechanical stress. And the nutrients that we give it is what it uses to fight those bacteria. So it's important to keep down the sugar and the carbs to about 20% of what we're eating, and then to spend the majority of what we're eating on the good fats, the good proteins, and veggies as well. Proteins that aren't processed, real whole meats, and good fats as well, coming from olive oil, almond oil, coconut. And even before going to a holiday party, it's good to eat so that we're full and not really feeding on a lot of sugar. And next we have, it's very important to maintain our sleep. I think that was at the very beginning of the talk. Sleep is one of the mental stressors. And when we don't get that sleep, it seems every other domino will start to fall in the wrong way. So at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night it's not just beneficial, but it's really necessary for our body. Now, something that I know when I was in school, I struggled with sleep until I came back and Dr. Giactor, my dad, was telling me that if you use this stuff, it will help to go to sleep at night. And that's why we've included this on the slide tonight, is because this NeuroMag is something that dilates the blood vessels in the brain to help relax the brain. And the magnesium itself is helpful for the brain to clear itself out at the end of the day. So this is something that will help with falling asleep in a very natural way. That's something you scoop into water. After that, we have, almost, should be working. After this, we have the exercise, daily exercise that we need. And at just a minimum of 30 minutes a day, we'll get the heart moving, we'll get our blood moving, and be able to really put our body in that fight and flight mode. We'll get the cortisol in the morning, and then the body had already produced it. Now we have the runner's high, or that good endorphin feeling after working out that stays with us for the rest of the day. And so if we make our morning stressful, you could put it, then all of the stress throughout the rest of the day can be relatively manageable, if that makes sense, from a mental perspective. That's the benefit of exercise, and the immune system gets the most benefit. And the last one is to maintain our joy. And there are many ways to do this, but it's important that we can't maintain our joy if we don't have the proper nutrition, exercise, and sleep. There we are, like we were saying earlier. So once we have managed our nutrition, our exercise, our sleep, and we're looking to maintain our joy, then we want to spend it wisely. Our mental energy is precious. So we want to remember that with the mental energy we have, we seek biblical wisdom, we enjoy our strengths and accept our limits, that we get out and engage with nature when we can, and when the warm weather starts to come in again. And then to also remember our similarities when we are together and celebrating and enjoying the holidays, even in an office like this, where we can all agree that health is something worth celebrating and that we've spent time with or spent time on and we're benefiting from. So with all of these, if we look at the other side of the picture, and we have, say we spend the time building our nutrition, our mental and physical health, then if we start to worry about things that are not important, that also taxes the brain. So things that, I don't remember where this study was from, but it's, if you find this on Google, estimate of things people worry about, and it's a paper, excuse me. But this is the average list of worries throughout the day, of 40% of things that never happen, 30% of things that are in the past and can't be changed, 12% of needless worries about our health when we're doing things already for it, miscellaneous things of 10%, and the real legitimate things to worry about, maybe 8% of the time we're thinking about. And so that 92% of our thoughts are building up. And when we remember to focus on the good, the important, and the people close to us, that's a great way to maintain our joy. And then lastly, when we can identify areas of life that maybe are not the good stress that they should be, like having a family or going out for a brisk walk is good stress on the body. It may be stressful, but it's good stress. And all of these should be good stressors. If we can manage them well, then they're healthy stresses. But if any of these seem to be distressing, causing distress, then it's good to prepare and focus on where each of these could be improved. Now, the last part of this is I want to explain what we're doing tonight as a gift for you guys for being here tonight, and something that really ties in with what we're discussing tonight. As the seasons are coming up, we have a discount tonight on these supplements. And the reason that we're choosing these specific supplements is when we're talking about the mental, chemical, and physical health, the vitamin D, the zinc, the probiotics, and the last one is, I'll have to check again. Oh, there it is. It was the NeuroMag towards the end there, are all at a discounted price tonight. And all of these are directly effective towards improving our nutrition over time, and that gives our body the ability to fight bacteria, fight the viruses, because when our body comes in contact with them, we have to make the white blood cells to fight off those bacteria. Our body uses energy to stay in motion, and these are the building blocks, the nutrient building blocks. So people who suffered the most from COVID-19 during the 2020, 2021 years had the lowest levels of vitamin D. So as we get into the winter time, our vitamin D levels are crucial for remembering how healthy and how prepared we are before the influenza or infections come. Next is zinc, and how that improves our ability to detox, and it helps with antioxidant activity, the ability to get rid of, they're called free radicals, the buildup of extra particles in the body that just don't need to be there. And then we also have the probiotics in here, because when we have the good bacteria in our gut, that allows us to identify where good bacteria reside and where the bad ones are. So we should have good bacteria in our gut to do that, and these probiotics help with that. And lastly, I already explained the NeuroMag, how it helps relax the brain in the most natural way possible to fall asleep. And even more importantly, I need to say for the guests who are here tonight, or for anyone looking to give a gift for Christmas, this is one of the best gifts that we can give. It's a gift of health. And this is a $97 pass for the first appointment at the office, where here we'll check if somebody has subluxation, where they have it, and do all of the diagnostic tests to know how we can help them. And all of that, the first few visits to establish what a patient needs, is here with this gift that we're giving tonight. And if you can think of people who can benefit from what we've discussed tonight, then I know that we can, at the front counter after the talk, we can give one of these health passes. And also, if you're interested in any of the supplements to really prepare for the end of the holidays, then we have those up there as well for 15% off tonight, as well as the Ultraplex shake that is included as well. So I want to thank you guys for your time tonight. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate you all. I hope you have great holidays, and take care. Have a good night, guys.